Welcome back, everybody. Episode 91, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. And I have a very beautiful, exuberant, juicy, joy-filled guest for you today. And Keisha comes all the way from South Africa for this conversation. And I'm just so grateful that we got to step into this space. We dive into her work as a scholar, as she calls it, not wanting to leave university and like one day just be like, can I just go to school and get paid to go to school? To the movement that ran through her at such a young age of starting to learn poetry, to be in alignment with poetry, and how she uses it now to help serve others. We dive into self-expression. We dive into the mechanism of being put into boxes and about how right now we're being called as light beings to actually step into our unique flow and really own our truth and our power and our unique ways to do that, and really holding space for our own evolution and growth. Because through this, I dive into a little bit of my healing journey through psilocybin and just like really speaking into the things in our life that we don't even know are hidden within us until we start to actually do the work and step into the work. And we talk about how poetry could allow self-expression like that to come through, and the mechanism in which we get to play within the vibration of healing and listening and, spiritual like conversations and the pings that move through us. And it was a beautiful conversation. There's so much energy around it too, which was amazing to hold and be within. And I'm just really grateful. I'm grateful you guys are here. I'm grateful for Keisha to step in to express in the way that she did and to hold that light for all of us. And yeah, it's just really exciting. So like I always say and preface now, if someone in your life could benefit from this podcast after you hear it, send it over to them. Tag us while you're listening to it on Instagram. Let us know you're here. Let us know you're listening. The more movement we get to make in this, the more movement we get to make in this. No further ado, episode 91, Light Warriors Unleashed podcast. Let us roll. This is going to be so exciting. So all the way from South Africa and all the way from Costa Rica, we are in a space of like diversity of the land. And like, I'm so excited, Keisha, to have you on the show, to have you here to speak with you and just to find out and discover where we're going to go. Like, welcome to the podcast.
So much, Colleen. I am so thrilled and motivated and honored to even be asked to be on your podcast. So thank you so much. I am honoring this time and space that we have. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I can't wait to kind of dive into some of your life, the journey you've been on, the dynamics of how you serve in the world now. And I think where I kind of want to lead into with, because if you guys can see your name, those of you guys listening, obviously you can't, but those of you guys on video here on YouTube will be able to see, it says poetic communication. So let's just open up the doorway to be like, what does that even mean?
Okay. Yes. The question for all. Now, it's really interesting, Colleen, because when I even say the word poetic communication, a lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, I know. Poetic communication, duh. Like, I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's poetry, and I say, well, yes, but it also dives a lot deeper. So for the past 20 years, I'm someone who's been always into community work and to poetry expression and to unlocking a side of us that we hide away in shame and guilt, a side of us that we lessen in our own uniqueness, we are shy away from. So I've been an advocate for motivating people to use poetic expression to unlock that, and not fit into this box of I must be like this. We are not boxes. We are not designed to be boxes. So, going through my own journey 20 years back and moving forward, I've just kind of realized that a lot of the work that I do centers on that. And with my education, which I've got a lot of, okay, a lot of education.
You were one
Especially
of those that loved school. I know.
if I could stay in there for the rest of my life, I would.
Oh
And get
man.
paid for it, forget it.
Yeah. Oh my God. And that's so not me. I was like, how can I get out of here the fastest way possible? So I was like, I'm gonna go get like a phys ed degree. It's because I was just like, I can get in and out with that. I already know anatomy. This will be like the easiest one. I'll just challenge exams and like get me out of this place. Like, oh my God.
What? I'm sorry. Now since you mentioned that, oh, my glasses are getting foggy. Don't you hate when that happens?
You're heating some stuff up over there. Oh my gosh. I know, just like me, I'm like sweating my ass up over here, sitting on my couch going, I better just not drip my whole entire face down my body. But
Your glasses are fog free. How does that even happen?
I'll wait and see. You never know what might happen. I'll be taking them off, I'm sure, and cleaning them and soon within this podcast interview.
Okay, woo.
This
So,
is real
okay,
life, people, real life.
real life,
Yeah.
real life.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me
So,
about school. So like I'm the rebel against the infrastructures, but you wanted to share a story. What was it?
hi, I wanted to share the story because it's related to what your story is as far as like
Mm-hmm.
the the structure of school. I was someone who broke every single structure. I
Mm,
did. When I was in school, I just felt like, wait a minute, like I have something to say. I have something important to say. And in
mm,
school, it's like a box. Everybody
yep.
fits in you have to fit into this box. And it wasn't until my second master's degree actually in communication studies from Arizona State University. Go Sun Devil! Anyway, did I start to realize that I had this unique voice and I wanted
Mm,
to be able to be that person to ask the questions that maybe other people were thinking, but they were scared
mm,
to ask. I wanted to be that person instead of writing the essay to go up in front of the class and give an essay speech, right? I,
right.
I asked for those things that were really out of the box. And throughout my education, a lot of my professors I worked with, they would say, you just want to do what you want to do. And I
Yeah.
would say, no, I just want to do what I'm strong at doing. I want to do my
Right.
strengths. And
Yeah.
writing a lit review and reading lit reviews, it wasn't my strength. It was like, oh, another one. I
Yeah.
have to hear what all these other people are saying, and then usually already it's not by a diverse pool, right? So you're not even seeing a lot of mirror images or a lot of diversity in these scholarly works. So I was always someone to break the chains, if you will, of what
Mm,
the structure of higher education was. And I started to feel empowered by that.
yeah.
Uh, so that's really why I love it, because I realized that that's where I found my voice, and that's where I was
Yeah.
able to do a lot of different things. And also back to poetic communication, I was able to take the communication scholarly work, right, and then
Yeah.
apply it to poetry and be able to infuse it in a way that I didn't realize I was doing all along, 20 years
Mm,
back, communities that I served. I didn't recognize that, wow, this is exactly what I'm doing. And now I found a name for it,
right.
poetic communication. So that's like a little bit of the story behind it, as it really focuses on our internal way and how we speak to ourselves and our world within that reflects outside.
I love this. And I want to ask a controversial question because I just feel like we went there and I want to complete that process there. But it's like, since you've been on your spiritual journey,
Yeah.
moving through your own truth, potentially seeing things in the world that you thought aligned somewhere down your life that you see through the veils of other things. How do you feel
Yes.
now about university systems and the way that they're being managed and ran, just even in the US? Because let's just centralize that. Do you feel like there is this still an asset for us? Is it like a thing still? Like I'm just curious as to your evolution, because there's a lot of people in my world that are like, we don't want our kids to go to school to be put through the systems any longer because of the managing of the information now. And so I'm just curious as to your point of view. Whatever it is, it would be amazing for you to share.
Okay, cool. I love that. I love that
Mm-hmm.
question. And speaking from my heart chakra right now, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, the structure is a sad structure. It's
Mm-hmm.
a sad structure because of the fact that it appears that there's no room for change.
Right.
It appears like everyone needs to fit in a certain bubble. They need
Mm-hmm.
to present in a certain way. They need
Right.
to act in it, and it's very robotic. right? It
Right.
doesn't make room for individuality and room for differences and room for diversity, but
Yeah.
it can change. And the thing is that I'm a big advocate for education because it helped me to find my voice. It helped me to
Right.
strengthen my voice. And it helped me to learn perspectives and things that I don't think I would have learned if it wasn't
Mm.
for the educational system. And it
Yeah.
helped me to learn how to have really in depth conversations that were about controversial things in
Yeah.
a safe space, if you will,
Right. Yeah.
that help to strengthen who I am and help to teach me things along the way in a safe environment. So then I could go out in the world and be like, boom,
Here I am.
you know.
Yeah.
Thing is that I think that the power of change, the power of the people,
Yeah.
that is one of the things that we often forget in the structure of education. We go in there and we feel like, okay, we have to fit into this box, when in fact, no,
Mm.
education has to fit for us. We have to be able to make it work for us, who we are,
Right.
what
Yeah.
we're about. And what that takes is advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that that is one of the things that we're missing in the university structure are
Mm.
really vocal advocates that are like, no, nope, I don't believe that, or nope, I don't see that like this, or no, I think we should do it this way. And things will change once the people speak up. But when they
Right.
don't say anything, they'll keep the same structure of a system that doesn't really teach us anything of I don't want to say of real value, but they'll teach us in a box and make us more robotic if we don't step out and embrace who we are as individuals and get what we can from that and show up in our
Right.
educational space like that. So hopefully that answered your question, but
Yeah. Like
yeah,
my main MO in life is to literally dismantle all the boxes of conformity. Like that's just part of my soul's mission in the world. It literally is. So I usually help a lot of entrepreneurs in their soul's mission really align what they're meant to do on earth and fully step in and embody that and like really
yes,
hold it potently. And that requires dismantling boxes that other coaches have said, or they've seen certain success in other ways, or they were told they can't do it like this and all the things. So yes, I feel that. And this is
yeah,
actually a conversation not just for the system, but for us as people as a whole, stepping up and advocating and stepping in and like speaking the truth into the world of like not
yeah,
just letting these governmental systems dictate how we show up in life or how our kids are being raised or all the things that are happening now that we're seeing in the world, which is it's some crazy times if we think about it. You know, us growing up, like I was born in the 80s, you know, and it was like the controversial thing in the 80s was like, Mom, I don't want to go to sleep yet. It's still like the sun hasn't even set, you know, like that was like what we dealt with. And we ran around and played and we went to parks and we played in the back forest and we built forts and we did all that. But it's like times have shifted and times have changed in the world, right? But
yeah,
that self expression is coming through now more dominantly, that throat chakra, that truth, right? Of how we step into the world. And I know this is part of your mission, using poetry to inspire people to actually move through the stuff that been holding them down. Is that correct to say? Did I summarize that properly?
no, that's correct to say. That's correct to say. You know, you mentioned so many important parts, and that is like with our world changing. When you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
being raised in the 80s, I mean, we were
Yeah.
raised good time and a
Oh,
real good
yeah. Yeah, totally.
where we could play in the park. And now when you drive by parks, I mean, I know for me, I see a lot of them sometimes like really empty, or
Yeah.
kids on their phone constantly, and the social media that's happening. And then we didn't have that back in our day, so it was I believe, like, of course we still had other people try to influence us, right? Guardians or
Yep.
whatever, tell us what they feel like we should be, and that's still a thing. But we didn't have social media to really like influence us where we can feel like we're not enough,
Mm-hmm.
because all of the fashion and the money and the this and the that, all the things that honestly they're nice, but they don't matter as much as your spirit. They don't matter
Yeah.
as much as your soul, as much as as much as that's like real food, that's real peace, that's real calmness. Not what kind of name brand you're wearing. That
Yeah.
is cute, but it doesn't do anything for your spirit. So yeah.
Yeah. You know, what's so funny is I on Sunday, just this past Sunday. So our podcast won't come out for a couple weeks, but like I'm just going
Okay.
to talk in real time as us conversing. I went into
Okay.
a psilocybin plant medicine journey, and part of the
Ooh.
journey was showing me like the spiritual warrior that I am and all the times in these lifetimes that I've had to step up for truth, and some of the times I was beaten for, or I was, you know, taken aback, or I was silenced because I was a woman, and these lives that were represented in this vision that I had. And I came out, and it was me and a friend, and we have another friend who I love dearly here in Costa Rica, who's right now worried about like duvet covers and getting like items like that from Canada with her mother-in-law coming, where I'm like, we're going to war soon, like we need some different like types of things. And we just started laughing because the difference of the people, right? And it has, there's no knock or no judgment or anything. It's just just goes to show though the diversity that we live within in the world, and that, you know, some of us are really focused in this stuff here, which could be important to you to hold space in your own safety, where some of us in our warrior advocating energies that are stepping up to like really speak into the world these movements of truth are like, we're
Yeah.
going to war, man, like we've got to have other, like, who cares about the duvet covers, get me some other things, right? And I laugh in so much beauty about all of it and the diversity of that. But it's like, we have that in the world and it's there, and there will be people that will step up and move through, and others that will never get it, and they just won't have any idea, right?
And you're absolutely right. And that just draws up this question I have for you. It's like this the warrior, right?
Mm,
That spiritual warrior. Like when did you really like tap into that fully? Like I know it was a
mm,
journey, right? So it's kind of
of
like,
course.
ooh, there's many different journeys in that. But I wonder, when did you like step into it fully? Like when was
Yeah.
that? What was that story like?
Yeah, so I probably am going to reference back to like 2022 when I actually made a decision that year to be all in the spiritual side of the business. So some of my listeners know the pathway of this because this is like episode 91. So every
Oh,
second
okay.
episode's a, yeah, every second episode's a solo episode. So like I just jump on and talk about things, whatever is
Okay.
coming through, like channeled in the collective. But that's okay, because 2022 was a year that I made a decision to fully step in and own all the spiritual dimensions and drop all the things I thought I needed to be. Like, I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years and did a lot of business coaching and pragmatic like leadership work and the like accountability and goals and, you know, and all that juicy stuff over here. When at the same time I was running the spiritual lane of awakening myself and taking all these random spiritual courses for fun and getting certified for fun and all these things that I never thought I would ever use. And I
Mhm.
finally owned all of the pieces in 2022, even though I started in 2020, ironically, starting to move into the spiritual journey of like expressing it online, not just talking to friends or, you know, doing the odd things around the side, right? And
Mhm.
it was in 2022 when I channeled Isis in the middle of the year in an actual masterclass. And I actually owned the fact that I was a channeler and that she was going to lead the masterclass. It was called Unleashed, and it was about owning your personal power. And it was
Okay.
at those moments of time, I think, that the real warrior energy through her, the goddess embodiment, not just of the frou-frou spiritual embodiment, but of the real warrior goddess energy that Isis held. And then over the years, I've tapped in and kept tuning in and kept tuning in. And then through this journey, just like literally like 5 days ago, when I got the visions of all the times that I was like literally battling with swords and knives and with words and on the actual infrastructures of the land, fighting for freedom for the people, fighting for truth in the world, fighting for the mystics, fighting for, you know, our expression, fighting for the light, that I
Yeah.
actually saw the full embodiment of the spiritual warrior within me. And it was 5 days ago that visualization literally came through, and the purity of its light. And you know what? I'll tell you this one quick story before we move through this, because I know you got something to say, but I have this like Instagram crush. And it was really funny because no, but it's okay. Like I came out of this experience and I go to my girlfriend and I was like, I can't even believe I had a crush on him, just knowing the warrior in me. Like he wouldn't be able to fucking handle that shit. And I'm like, and like, how is he supposed to step in? Like he's not a warrior this way. Like if the apocalypse happened, I would have to tell him what to do. And I don't want to tell my guy what to do. He
Of
needs
course
to
not.
be holding his own stance, you know? And so we started laughing about it, but it was just like hilarious and funny. Anyhow,
That's
let me pass
thank
that back to you. Yeah. To like feel into this energy for your own self. Like warrior means all different kinds of things. And some
you.
people are shaded by the term war. And we are in a battle in the energetic perspective, firstly within our own selves, our own
Yeah.
truth, our own light. Can we hold it? Like the work you do, helping someone come through an expression within themselves is a battle. We have to choose it every day, and we choose to step in and to illuminate and move through, right? So some people get tainted by the word warrior, but it
Yes.
really is inside of us. It's not outside, it's here that we hold the energy. So yeah, go for it. Take the baton. I'd love to see what you have to say about anything I just mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, just oof, so powerful because
Mm,
thinking about, I normally say, like, you see someone, you say, hey, how are you? And it's, I'm fine.
yeah.
And really, there is such a strong war going on within, you
Mm-hmm.
know? How
Yeah.
are you doing? I'm fine. How are you
Yeah.
doing? I'm fine. You know?
Mm,
And it's within, they are far from it. You
yeah.
know, within they are suffering with guilt and shame,
Mm,
and they're suffering with reliving the past, right?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know that us in human form, right? This is what we have to deal with,
Yeah.
right? When we really tune into our spiritual world, the past is the past. Things happen, they happen, we flow, we grow stronger from it. But
Yeah.
within our human self, we can grow weak from it, if
Mm,
we continue to carry it along with us, in the shame world, and in the guilt world, and in the I can't share with anyone because they're going to judge me world. And
yes.
and rather knowing that the biggest judgment that we have is a judgment for ourselves. Like,
Of course. Yeah.
we judge ourselves through guilt and shame when we don't practice forgiveness. um
Mm,
those are the things that really beat us up inside, because
right.
people can say whatever they want to say. Of course, it matters, but it doesn't matter as much as what's in here.
Yeah.
So with poetic communication, using communication scholarly work as well, because I'm using all this education, okay? It
Yeah.
will
You better
cross
be using it all.
but it's something called, internal noise.
Yeah.
And internal noise is a really big function of poetic communication, because rather than saying her, him, they, them over there, rather than
Yeah.
doing all of this, which is what, humans, we can do that. We can really point outward.
Yeah.
It's about learning the internal dialogue that we have carried along through our lives,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it's about discovering the ones that were fed into us when we were young and innocent,
Mm,
and really realizing how they are playing into our roles as we are getting older, and how
right.
they're playing into our narratives.
Yeah.
And I know that, I'm so glad that we came together, because there's a
Yeah.
big portion of narratives within Light Warriors and within poetic communication. It's about being able to really change that narrative. But
Mm,
first, you have to realize that that narrative is not to be blamed for he, she, them, they, but
right.
to really not cast blame, but to recognize your internal dialogue. And once you're real, because it's not easy to be real with yourself,
Oh, I
but
know. We can hide easily. We can literally like we're the ones that like just let ourselves off the hook so easily sometimes, you know. I
Yes.
totally agree with you. Totally agree
Yes.
with you.
And I think we let ourselves off the hook in various amount of ways.
Oh, for
Whether
sure.
we want to like escape, and then we have all of these different vices that we use to escape,
Yeah.
and these different vices then become habits, and then these habits now become additional problems.
Yep.
So it's just really about being able to win that war within, and then
Mm-hmm.
things just, oh man, the light. And it's every day. Like you said, it's every day. It's not like, oh, I won the war. Yeah,
Yeah.
today's Tuesday. I won the war.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
You won the
right back.
battle, maybe. You were in the battle and you won the battle, but we're still like and it's so
Yes,
fun is that like this experience on Sunday, this plant medicine experience, which I'm actually going to do a whole podcast on because the depth of what was moved through me was
yes,
intense. But there was something that showed up that I had buried and didn't know consciously at 42 that it had happened to me at 17. And I had no idea, none. Like there was no reference point. I remember the scene and I remember it when I went back in, but I didn't know consciously. I had buried it so deep. And
yes,
part of me, like part of the healing journey I went through the psilocybin experience was like, how did I not know? And the blame that I held in my own self in those moments of discovering it, in the moments of honoring it, and then in the moments of going, how the fuck did I not know? Like out of all the things that I know and all the
yeah,
things I tap into and all the things I know about all the other people in my life, because I can pull into energy like this, what the, right? So it's like, and someone who's like cultured and who has moved through stuff and gets life and is in awareness and all the things I could say about myself that
yes,
I've done the work. But it was like this piece that I couldn't seem to move. And that was the intention was, why is this piece? What is it? Like, oh, you want to know? And then I
yep.
went, oh shit. And then I found it. And then I moved all the stuff and did all the things with it. And then literally on Tuesday, I go to the gym and my whole body feels different. Like it
Mhm.
completely changed everything about my life because I was holding it so darkly inside of my body that it was like once it got let go, I could breathe. And I didn't know that I wasn't breathing, you know?
Oh,
So I
God.
could see this. I could see this with the work that you do. I could see this with the people actually taking ownership. And once they speak this into the world through whatever way they're creating in the energy, it
Yes.
opens up the valve for them to actually be and feel and understand. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, what you shared too. I have chills.
yeah.
I have goosebumps. I haven't had those in a while. Uh,
Oh, I love goosebumps. They're like my thing. They show up all the time for me. I know.
oh, so the plant experience. This is
Mm,
something that's very interesting because
yeah.
um, that has been coming up a lot in my world
I
at
bet. Yep.
times, just wanting to know more about it. So when you say plant medicine, are you speaking specifically? I don't know the name of it. I want to say it, but now I don't know the name of it. But there's one. This
Ayahuasca probably is what you're thinking of. Yeah. Yeah. So I
that
use psilocybin. So I was on I was in a mushroom journey.
oh my oh
So yeah. So there's different plant medicines, especially in Costa Rica. We can get access to all of them, like
good.
Bufo and Cambo and psilocybin and San Pedro and like all the things. Like
Oh,
we
there was
we have people coming in from everywhere bringing everything to here, and like you could access different retreats for different medicinal adventures and stuff. But this
oh
was a chosen plant that, and like if you actually look at mushrooms, and there's some videos that they actually show the frequency of mushrooms, and that if you tap into the mushroom, it actually plays a frequency. And if you put multiple ones together, it creates music. And psilocybin is so intellectual. It is like, how did it know to go to this bright part of my brain that was holding the answers that I seek? And yeah, everything is energy and intention, but it was
yes.
like I didn't have to go through the like breathe and maybe there's nausea and all the things that come through psychedelics. I went
Hmm.
right in right in. Like the woman holding the space for us, because we had someone holding the space for us as we journeyed. She was like,
Yeah.
within 5 minutes, you were in. Like you were already in where you needed to go, and it was like the
Wow.
calling of the medicine. And not everybody does that, but like I knew I knew there was something that was there that was blocking and creating all these things that weren't supposed to be there technically. Like I was like, there's
Yeah.
something here. Like I just can't, I don't know what it is. And I now know what it is, like, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Congratulations to you, because
yeah. Thank you.
that's a big discovery, and it's a brave journey that
Oh,
only a
yeah.
warrior can take,
Yeah.
right?
And
For
then I got all the other warriors, and I saw like some relationships in my life and the lifetimes we've spent together and the wars that we were in. And just, it was
wow.
like, it was like a movie was playing out in my mind, but it actually had happened in all these dimensions for me. Like it was just, it was the coolest thing ever. And, I've been to ayahuasca ceremonies. I've sat with ayahuasca, and psilocybin is my medicine. Like it was like, yeah,
Okay.
like, and you find usually one that you connect in deeper with, that you really resonate with.
Okay.
Um, at least those of us that really do the work. Like there's some people out there that'll just keep taking all of them and keep moving through all of the plant medicines because they're still searching, instead of actually potently leaning in to actually explore. But I have
Yes.
no judgment, obviously, on anybody in their experiences as to what they're being called to. But yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
ayahuasca's potent. I started with her. Well, I guess my recreational journeys when I was a teenager didn't count. We'll say,
Oh,
like, like all the things we did when we were kids. Yeah, no, we'll just
yeah.
chalk that up to other things.
Yeah, we know. We've had that past.
Yeah, yeah,
Love how intentional it is now to be able to correlate it now to healing,
yes,
correlate it now to discovering more about yourself, rather than running away from
right,
yourself.
yeah,
So I really love that, and I'm glad you shared that because it's really inspiring for me.
mm,
That's a journey that I want to take as well, to dig into,
yeah,
um, things that go deeper, my own guilt and shame, and things that I haven't let go of.
yeah,
I'm really good at helping other people let go of that. I'm really good at digging deep with them and saying,
of
okay, cool, let's
course,
really deep. And then with self, it can be like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. But wait, hold up. Let me help these
yeah.
people first.
Yeah, I'll get to that one. I'll get to there. I'll get to there. And yeah, and it was fun because like we're literally coming into like the new energy of the year, like the Chinese year. I'm really connected to dragons. So I do a lot of work with dragon energy, and that was
Cool.
happening. We were moving out of like a new moon, like all the pieces that you could have like just been within. Like it was just like you couldn't have timed it in the perspective of everything.
Yeah,
And it's just,
sure.
it's fun when that rolls. And I'd love to hear about your journey. Like we could make this whole podcast about me, but that wasn't the intention of bringing you on. The intention was actually to get to know you a bit more too, and the mission. So like you go from scholar to like really probably I'm going to make up you were regimented, because even before we jumped on, your battle within your mind and your heart played out even in your life these days, where you're like, can we do a
Yes.
session before, which I didn't even read the notes until before we jumped on, so I wouldn't even have honored your mind. I would have been like, no, we're dropping into your heart and you just need to trust. That's probably what I would have said to you, and my listeners would be like, she totally would have said that to you, because that's how I roll. But
Yes.
like
And
you're going to university, like you're taking all the things, like, and there's this beat that's moving through, like I call it the whisper keeps coming. So tell us about this journey, because there's pieces here that I think are going to be very powerful for the people to hear. So I can't wait. Yeah,
sure. So the journey, as it is still unfolding, as it is
always.
still showing up every single moment of the day in many different plethoras of ways, but really, during my time as a scholar, I learning all of these different communication studies and these communication methodologies and practices,
Hmm.
it was really great. But I felt like, how can I use this
Mm.
to make the world a better place?
Right.
How can I utilize this to be able to help people who are not in the university structure or in the higher education realm to be able to still get these nuggets and utilize them to help make their life and their journey better? And
Hmm.
I always, I since 2005, I mean, I've always been into poetry. First of all, I started at 5 years old with my
I
uncle who
love it.
introduced. Yeah, he introduced me to poetry. He had a bunch of books with short poems in there, hidden in the drawer underneath, like all of his clothes and stuff, right? And it was just like,
Wow.
it was just there. And he had plenty of them, and he would read them to me, every morning when I would spend time over my grandmother's house in the summertime or for the holidays in Brooklyn, New York. And yeah, and I was so I loved seeing him read. I loved seeing him read his poetry because he was at a very calm, cool space. And then all the things he had to express, I'm like, this is my uncle. This is the stuff he has to say.
Yeah.
This, and so from there, I would practice and I would write myself and I would mimic him, obviously, because that's who I had as a look
Mentor.
through.
Yeah.
And yes, as a mentor. And so I just copied his after a while, and then throughout the years I started to just kind of formulate my own type of style and writing my
Mm.
poetry and just my inner poet speak,
Yeah.
just not worrying about what I'm saying, how I'm saying it. Is this spelled correctly? Do I need a comma here? I just would just let things go. So throughout my years of, bringing it to communities, I've lived in several different communities from, New York, Philadelphia, Barbados, wherever I am, I'm bringing poetry with me.
Yeah.
So when I would see young kids on the corner of, at the bodega, it's corner store, and they don't really have anything to do because they've been closing down all the schools and giving these young people nothing to do but to hang out and act tough. you know,
Yes. Yeah.
I would go up, I'll be the person to step up to them and say, "Hey, who knows how to do poetry? Who wants to express something powerful? And they'll look at me like I'm crazy, but the next minute, they're getting into some
Yeah.
words and they're expressing like, "Oh, I love to write," or "I write, but I don't want to share it with people because I don't want people to think this and that and this." So
Hmm.
so I've always like been that advocate. I've done it, with city council help and without. If I want to make it big or small, I'm always out there in the neighborhoods and in the communities. Then when I got into higher education and started to learn all these communication concepts, there was a moment where I was feeling like, wow, I'm in this box. I'm in this
Mm.
box. I'm in this thing. And I don't feel like I'm serving the community. I'm not serving the people like I want to serve the people.
Right.
Um, I want to serve the people. So I just started to work with different communities like anti or human trafficking survivors. And I would work with, inner city groups. I would work with different professors. I would work with just middle school, high school. And
Yeah.
I started to just kind of implement the program of poetic communication, of expressing themselves. And again, with
Mm.
the internal noise, the external noise, the feedback, and I would add all of these different elements to it. And that's when I came to the power, if you will, of I could do something really strong with this education and with
Right.
creativity, because creativity to me is the power that we all have.
Yeah.
And one of the things that a lot of people would tell me is, "Oh, I'm not a poet. I don't write poetry. I'm not a poet. I can't do that." And it's only because they're thinking performative poetry, right? They're thinking,
Yeah.
"I am the world and the world is me." They're
Yeah.
thinking in that realm. And yes, and I'll tell them, okay, you may not be performative poetry, but you have an inner poet. Your inner poet speaks your emotions, it speaks your
Yeah.
feelings, it speaks your genuine, authentic self. This is your inner poet, and we all have one.
Yeah.
So it's just really about embracing that and being able to stand strong in that and use your creative power, no matter how it looks. It doesn't have to look like whatever box they seem to have put around creativity. Okay.
Yes, which is no box. It shouldn't have any box. Yes. You know what's so fun is like the divine feminine energy is all about creative life force, and it is that what we're reclaiming back in the world, and not just in feminine bodies like us as females, but in all of the landscape, the creative flow within every single person on earth.
Yes,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yes, and that's the power. That's the true power there. So yeah, so that's kind of like the story between, getting out from this scholar world, but then getting still back into the community, but mixing the two, because I think that
Mm,
both sides are, it's still me.
yeah.
And I still love the university structure, but yeah, I know that the people can make a lot of different changes, and as long as they empower their creativity, and that's why I want to bring poetic communication in a lot of the schools as
Yeah.
well, just so that people can find their voice and not be afraid to use it.
Right. I love this. So
Yeah.
good. I think this is like the movement we're seeing in the world right now is really allowing our throat chakra, our heart center, our solar plexus, which is personal power, to step forward, and not in a way of creating chaos per se. Like some people are using their voice to purposefully create detrimental things in the world. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the purity of your light in your own self expression and how you show up, and not in a way of criticizing others, but in a way of holding your own vibration and holding your own light there. It's so cool. I love
Yeah.
this.
Oh, I love that you say like holding your own light. Like, I'm like, why don't people want to hold their own light? Like,
Yeah.
some really, I think that
Yeah.
the holding your own light is not something that we're taught. It's something
No.
that we find.
Yes.
So for many people, they feel like, oh, I have to match up. There's one thing that I want to mention too with poetic communication. I am an intuitive poetic individual. So I do poetry based on intuitive messages that I receive.
Yes.
It's something that I don't really talk much about, but I'm gonna be tuning into my power fully. Okay.
Yeah, girl, you better step in, especially on this podcast. Yeah.
Um, so I do a lot of that, and I'll feel someone's energy, and I will do a poem that is designed just specifically for them and their
So
journey.
fun. Yeah.
Um, and a lot of times when I go up into groups, big settings, and I'll do poetry, and then I'll say, okay, your turn. It's like, oh, my turn. I can't no. And I would say, well, the point of this is to recognize that you're not meant to sound like me. I'm
Yeah.
not meant to sound like you. My energy and my presence and living in my own power, just like you, Colleen, living in your own power, being who
Yeah.
you are, it cannot or shall not or will not intimidate anybody. Do you understand?
Hmm.
When someone else is living in their own power, they understand that, okay, I'm going to sound different. I'm going to move different. And I'm good with that. And I feel
Yeah.
good. And I love that about myself. And so that is also one of the goals with poetic communication, again, is breaking through that box and not saying, oh, I can't do it like her. Did anyone ask you to do it like her?
No.
That's boring. Okay.
Yeah.
You need to do it like you, and um be very be very warrior like with it, and be like,
Yeah.
like, I see you, that was great, now see me. And let's
Yeah.
just going to feel different and have different vibrations and energies. So that's one of the things I really teach others too with poetic communication. Embrace your uniqueness, man. Like,
Yeah.
live it and love it and honor it and live in your power. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Period. Exclamation point. Yeah. It's so true. And what's so fun is that I would have never considered myself a poet. And when I did my ayahuasca experience, which is really funny, we were talking about plant medicine, and now this is coming up again, which is actually really fun,
Yes.
is she says to me, you're an artist, you're a
Mm,
musician, and you're a poet. It's now starting. Now it's time to own it. And now I'm not a poet in a way of, like you say, performance poetry. I'm a poet in the way that I can weave words together to explore a story. And it's
Yes.
not in a way of like a poetry book where the standards would be that this is poet. It's also the way I express through my musical talents and the way I show up in like light language transitions and how I show up within the music of creation and not the actual poetry like you probably create in a line. But each of us, like you said, has our unique vibration and what poetry is for us.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it could be said that we're all poets. The way we express our words is our own poetry.
Yes, for sure. That's the message. That you
Yeah.
people would say, "Oh, who's your favorite poetry? Or what kind of, do you like narrative poems and all?" And I'll be like, I love your poem. I love my
Yeah.
poem. I love like I'm not all into the standards because we already talked about it. No boxes here.
No
Um,
boxes. Yeah.
well, and I get there's formulas for everything, but really when it comes down to poetic communication, I'm speaking specifically on the way that you communicate your inner
Right.
poet and how that shows up in the world. So yes, I believe everybody is a poet, and I already knew you were a poet,
Yeah.
so
Here I am, like, and here I am.
yes.
It's fun because ayahuasca downloaded like a poem out of like ceremony. So what happens is you do a night ceremony with ayahuasca, and so you're up all night. Like literally, you start maybe about 10 p.m. and you go all the way till sunrise when the ceremony closes, and then
Oh,
you ground in, you eat, and then you go do the rest of your day potentially. Most people do it at retreat settings. I didn't. I just did a ceremony in one evening and then went home and came down, tried to figure out, I'm like, I need to sleep for a bit, but I can't sleep all day because then I'm going to switch all the mechanisms and stuff. But when I woke up after a nap, this poem came out of me that I wrote down, which was just like, and it's just self-expression. It's just like, here's the journey. This is what it meant in the journey to move through, right? And it's
yes,
just really cool to see that availability that we all have within us to express, to step in, to be. So, so let me ask you this question: where does
yes.
one start in this process? Like, so they're hearing this and they're like, oh my God, I never considered I was a poet. And some people may journal, some people may channel, some people may express it through different ways. But just in your process, if you could just give us like, where do you start with people? Like, how does this look and feel? And where could someone start the journey? Obviously, if they're like, I really want to, do this kind of work, we'll have your show note, the contact details in the show notes and stuff. But like just for listeners here today, what would you say?
Okay, cool. Well, I'm so glad you asked that question because it
Mm-hmm.
was actually on my mind.
Yeah.
So it's good. You're tuning in, man, energetically. It's going. Okay, so where do you start? So with poetic, I break it down into a system, maybe like, here goes that word, a system.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
know. Get out the
But
system.
no system,
We have
but
a certain flow we work within. How would you call it that?
certain flow we work within. Yeah, I love that. And the flow is first, it's think of it as an acronym. This will help with the flow. So first thing is the P, and it's for poetic, but you're talking
Mm,
about purpose.
mm,
So we start to really dive into the purpose of how you've been communicating, the purpose of your internal and external noise. We focus on that purpose, but then we also focus on the opportunities within the purpose. So understanding the
mm,
flow of how your inner poet can be able to help to discover these opportunities that are within your purpose, and then your expression. How can you uniquely express yourself without guilt or without shame,
right.
without feeling like you're not enough, without so you're feeling empowered by your expression, you're feeling motivated by your expression, and how that can help with opportunities towards your purpose. And then next is like the timing. So understanding, letting your inner poet guide you through understanding those timings, those right moments that really can help with your expression your
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, and your purpose, right?
Yeah.
Then we go into the inner work, and that inner work really dives so deep into getting rid of those blocks, or understanding what those blocks are, understanding how you speak to yourself, engaging more in not only just positive self-talk, but engaging more into self-talk that is going to propel you towards knowing and understanding the
Mm-hmm.
timing, the
Okay.
expression, and the
Yeah.
opportunity towards your purpose. And then last but not least, we dig into the connection part,
Mm.
right? So knowing the people, places, and things that we need around us to help to motivate us to get into more of that inner work, to understand the
Mm.
timings, okay, that are going to help with our expressions and the opportunities towards our purpose. So overall, um, that is like where we would get started. And I know that may sound like such a handful, but it's really the methodology that I have created and worked on for 20 years,
Yeah.
with poetry and communication studies, and really infusing them together. And when people go through that methodology, it's it's phenomenal. Like, listen, let me tell you something. It
Yeah.
is eye-opening. It's eye-opening. It boosts confidence. It helps to really bring in with self-acceptance, with, certainty, getting rid of the guilt and the shame. And it just allows someone to really get into their light warrior, like, boom,
Yeah.
there. And, and
I love it.
work
Yeah.
that is, so that is how I work with my clients. I do one-on-ones, and I do group coaching as well, just to be able to foster connection as well, and community.
That's awesome. I love this. And if you guys feel inclined, obviously, and we're going to have all your social handles, whatever you provided us in the show notes. So go and follow, see the mechanism, watch her. I'm going to make up that if you don't have reels of yourself speaking into poetry, that soon you will, because there's going to be a nudge coming through. I haven't been to your IG yet, but I will. I'll tag you on a story after this to talk about our interview a bit, to just to like prompt people to know it's coming. But like, um,
Okay.
I would hope that you are expressing your own self on your Instagram. And if not, this is your silent nudge from the universe coming through on a podcast interview to get yourself out there a little bit and move it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Snaps to that, right? Um, yeah, so let's I want to I'm honoring time as well, but I want to kind of dive in just a little bit into this, because I think it's going to be like important. Is you've been through your own fair share of stuff. We all go through our journeys, and we as warriors, light warriors, as embodied spirits that are consistently doing our work, keep stepping in to do the work. And
Yes.
what was the piece of courage really for you that has allowed you to keep shining brightly? Like, because I'm sure over time, especially being an advocate in school systems, and speaking your truth at university, and all of the work you've done from social systems, and you mentioned a few already in this podcast, human trafficking, and different dynamics. Like, there's an underlying energy of courage, and I talk about it a lot. Like, it's like one of the pillars of the light warrior movement is us having courage to step in, us having courage to speak, us having courage to expose ourselves, us having courage to lean in, really. And so for you, what does that mean? Where is that for you? How do you keep stepping up into the space of that? Because I feel like this is really important in the work you create and the space you hold, but also the work we're creating as a whole in this world to change.
Yes, for sure. I love that question, because it really it brings me to a specific situation that I think would be a great short story to tell to answer
Yeah.
that. So I was working with an organization called Streetlights USA,
Mm,
and they deal with anti-human trafficking for young women between the ages of 12 to 17.
mm,
And and I went there just in collaboration with ASU, but really ASU wanted me to go to another agency, and I wanted to go to an agency that was going to allow me to live in my life without,
Right.
without telling me no. 'Cause sometimes you have to hear a lot of no's before you hear yes.
Right.
And
Yep.
I followed spirit, and I went towards this organization myself, and I said, look, I am, a facilitator, poetic communication. I would really love to have sessions with your young ladies, and I would really love the opportunity to work with them. And they're just like, wait, like, you want to do this? Like, how much is this going to cost? And I'm like, well, Spirit's telling me that I need to just do this. So I'm
Yeah.
not really thinking about funds or money at this particular time. I'm thinking about service. Um, and so they were like, whoa, yeah, come on
Yeah.
through. Like, I'm so excited for you. So once I went through, I was really excited. I remember Colleen, I was super excited. And
I
then I
bet.
had my pencils and my pens, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like, whoa. So how streetlights work is that they rescue young women that are being human trafficked in the Phoenix, Arizona area.
Okay.
And they have 5 homes. In each home, they have about 9 to 12 young girls living
Okay.
in each home. So I was able to work with each home for one day. So one day I'll work with home number one, next day, home number two. So this was the very first day, very first home. And man, like I said, I was excited. I had my pencils out. I had my
Mm.
perception. This is how it's going to go. These girls are
Yeah.
going to be excited to see me. It's going to be great. We're going to do poetry. We're going to do healing. We're going to just, woo, it's going to bring out their light. They're going to love it. So as I'm sitting in this community space, waiting for the girls to come, excited, thrilled, just
Yeah.
can't wait to share this. These girls come in with like the blankets over their head. They got their pajamas on. They're pissed off because they stopped their Latin movie, and they were just mad that they had to stop their Latin movie to come to
Yeah.
whatever nonsense they felt like it was. And I remember them being like, "Why are we here? Like, who are you?" And I'm just like, "Oh, my name is Keisha Harrison, Poetic Communication. Oh, who cares?" And I got all the negative stuff.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
remember trying to do many different activities with these girls, and these girls were like, they were not for it. They were talking here. One girl would be really into it, and the other 9 are just like, whatever, this is boring. And I just remember getting to a place where I was feeling frustrated, and I
Mm.
was feeling like, wow, well, wait a minute. I know that this will help them. I know I'm here for a reason, but they're not responding. And I didn't want to take out the discipline ruler, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because going to work either. These
All the
girls were
stuff
going to
they've been through and everything. Like they're looking at you going, yeah, okay, whatever. Yep.
like, yeah, okay, we're going to show you who's going to win this battle. And, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, well, I don't want to do that because, again, what they've been through. So I just remember leaning in, I closed my eyes. Mind you, all the girls are talking, and they're throwing pencils, they're doing all kinds of stuff. And I stop, I lean in, I close my eyes, and I say, God, what is it that you want me to do?
Hmm.
What do you need me to do in this moment? And once I leaned into that, I just started doing a poetry off the top.
Yeah.
And I just went and did a poem and kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. And my inner poet just came out.
Yeah.
Once I opened my eyes, I apologize.
That's
Once I
okay.
opened
Yeah.
my eyes, um, and finished the poem, once I opened my eyes and came to, all of the girls
Yeah.
were crying.
Mm.
Every single last one of them
Mm.
crying, tears flowing down their face. They were just looking up at me, and they were like, wow. And from then on, the girls picked up the pencils off the floor, they picked up
Yeah.
the paper, they said, what do you want us to do? We're
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah.
So that is where I tune in, like when times get really rough, or when I'm not certain about something, I tune into higher power.
Yeah.
And because once I start to make it about me, I know this is not about me. I'm
Yeah.
a vessel for this
Yeah.
message.
Yeah.
And so that's what I utilize to really tune in, and it works every single time. And I get the message and I do it in a poetic way and it works every time.
Because it's not us. We get out of the way, right? So, like, we're in
Yeah,
charge of channeling the messages. And if someone makes a choice and decision in their free will to not accept it and to not move through, then that's their free will choice of acceptance. And we aren't in charge of that. We're in charge of the messages and to keep channeling them through and to keep stepping in and to keep moving it forward. And some people will take it and some people won't. And we lose
yeah,
some people and we don't, and we gain more, and the following comes, and then we find deeper rooted connections and all the things start to move. So I
yes,
love
yeah.
the story of you built. Yeah, this is great.
Thank you. Thank you
This is
so
great.
much.
So I want to be conscious of time because we're almost at an hour of recording time anyways too. So I want to kind of leave you with like what's the last words that you want to speak into the world today in connection with anything we've talked about or anything that's on your heart or whatever that is that you just feel called to share.
I feel called to share at this particular moment in time, um, to continue on your unique journey.
Mm,
Uh, Although it can get hard, it can get rough, it can get difficult, know that the power of your uniqueness and who you are a beautiful, beautiful person. And your uniqueness is meant to shine on this world. How you're meant to speak, what you're meant to speak, that's your beauty, that's your
mm,
uniqueness. And I want people to remember that there's only one of you.
mm,
And you want to be able to express that fully with your authenticity, with no apologies, with no guilt, with no shame. You want to express that with love and genuineness and authenticness because you deserve it. So that is really
mhm.
hard.
Yeah, I love this. And what a great way to kind of end and summarize, it's just like I talk a lot about rhythm and about each of us having our own rhythm and the beat to our own drum. And I think that that was a perfect way to just kind of tie a bow around the experience that we've just been through together and to really tie a bow around the messaging of this for people. Like, it's like your uniqueness and stepping into that and really holding space there.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
all the way from South Africa, I just want to say thank you so much for being on, for showing up, for shining brightly, for laughing, for us going wherever we went in the last
Yes.
hour together and just being here. So, yeah, Keisha, just it's been a pleasure, really.
Oh, thank you, Colleen. Thank you for opening space. Thank you for flowing like how you flow in your unique self. Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for creating this for so many people to hear and to heal and to help
Mm.
them become light warriors. So thank you so much for your work. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for seeing me. And I loved our back and forth convo where I was like, wait a second. I've been talking most of the time, so now it's your turn because like I don't want to monopolize my own podcast because I do that often in my solo episodes anyways. But yeah, just I'm really grateful. I'm grateful that you said yes. I'm grateful that I put the invite out and you followed the call. And I'm just really all grateful for all of it. Like I really feel this energy moving through the collective, and the more we can really lean into these beautiful blessings of connection together, the more we can lean into the beautiful blessings of connection together. So,
Oh,
so
yeah.
cool. So good. Well, for those of you guys listening, just want to say thank you for being here. Super appreciate you guys as always. And like I always say, if something hit for you, quote us, take a photo of this, tag us on Instagram, get the word out, send it to a friend because someone in your life may need to hear this message that we created together today. And it's like the Light Warrior movement is not one individual, it's all of us participating together. And yeah, Keisha, again, thank you so much for being here. Super appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Colleen. Much internal peace to you and everyone that surrounds. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys all too. And we'll see you guys all in the next episode. Bye for now. Okay, that was a lot of fun. That's all I have to say. And you will see, like, we laughed about all different kinds of stuff. We moved through the experience of things, or like, you will see it's like I'm recording the intro you've already seen, you've already heard it. And I just love the landscape in which we can have these discussions on this podcast that we can step into mechanisms of speaking our truth and owning our truth, and talk about healing journeys, and, talk about our experiences in life, because that's what it's all about. Each of us has a story. Each of us is moving through our story. Each of us is creating in the landscape of our life. And the more we keep coming together to explore, to be, to own, to really be in this being, the more impact we get to make. So I'm grateful that Keisha jumped on, that she said yes, that we got to explore that together. And thank you again, guys. And like I said in the actual podcast, help us get it out. Tag us, share the word, spread the word. This is a powerful, powerful energy that we get to move within together as light warriors. And just let's get it out there. All right, guys, we'll see you all in the next episode.